that if it's okay to take a cigarette break, if it's okay to take a coffee or a
Coffee
tea
break, yeah.
why it is not okay to take a break to do a few minutes of exercising.
Exactly.
People try to create a perfect environment. When I have this time, life is not perfect. If I tell you sit upright, people can interpret it in many different ways. But if I tell you, imagine that there is a really big balloon attached on the top of your head and it is lifting you and pulling you and lengthening everything.
Yeah.
You're going to actually get much more out of that exercise because you're visualizing. You're using both hemispheres of your mind to get into that space. Plus, it's easier for your body to do it. Then I realized that there is no perfect thing and that one shoe does not fit all. We need to custom make these shoes.
Hi. So how often do you do Pilates? I'm sure you have heard that word. और अगर देखा नहीं, सुना नहीं है तो देखा तो जरूर होगा. How about those Instagram videos where all the celebs are hanging ups and down and doing weird things, right? Well, on today's episode, I'm going to speak about Pilates. I have an amazing guest. She is going to tell us so much about Pilates. The idea is to understand that how Pilates works with your cognitive effects, how it works with PCOS, and what you can do to if you are sitting at home or at your workplace. So let's straight jump to the topic, and here we have Vesna Jacob with us. Hi Vesna, how are you?
Doing great. Thank you for having me here.
Great. So I am so excited for this session because Vesna has been my Pilates teacher for a decade now, and I have learned so many things from her. But thank you so much for taking out this time and coming here to chit chat and to tell more about Pilates to our audience.
No, of course. Fire away.
Great. So, firstly, Vesna, you have a very interesting story, which I know that how you started Pilates and what was the reason you eventually got this, become an expert in Pilates. I would like you to share with our listeners here that what was your journey, which is very, very interesting, guys. You will find it so inspiring.
Thank you so very much. Well, I was always very athletic as a child. To me, I never thought of working out and exercising or playing sports as a chore. It was something that was part and parcel of my life. As a matter of fact, I would finish everything, including my school obligations, so I could be active and play sports. So I started as a track athlete and then fell in love with basketball. So over a period of time, became a national level basketball player. And went to Germany to sign my first professional agreement to become a professional. So that was, my life was kind of penned out that I was to play basketball, that's going to be my living, that's how I will earn my living. Yeah. And there was nothing I wanted more because that's all I wanted to do. And then as the luck wants it, I had an injury 7 days prior to signing my first professional contract. There was a problem with the injury. I wasn't recovering properly. So 6 months down the line, I had to have another surgery. And the second time around, I was told, your career is over.
Oh, God.
You're done. Your knee is ruined beyond repair. And not only you cannot play basketball, but there will be a problem in the range of motion, in the strength. You will not be able to use your body the way you're used to.
Oh, God.
And you have to, from now on, you have to be extra careful because one more injury and you will be with a stick for the rest of your life. And I was 19 at that time. Now imagine to 19-year-old who had no plan B, no plan. That was, I invested.
I cannot imagine.
Everything I had. I was anchored in basketball. That was that world could go to hell. There could be anything could have been happening around me, but I had that anchor and then that was taken away. Now, in those 6 months between the two surgeries, I gained around 25, 30 kilos.
Oh, God. Just
Yes.
because sitting at home, not doing.
I couldn't do. I was frustrated. I was in pain. I was. There were three things happening, because the more I was practicing, the worse I was getting. That was one, which was extremely frustrating. Because as an athlete, when something is not happening, the rule of a thumb is work harder. And here, it was actually opposite. The harder I worked, the worse I was getting. So that was very confusing, very frustrating, very annoying. Secondly, I kept on wondering what my life would have been because there was nothing else for me to do.
Yeah.
So who was I without basketball? Thirdly, I was angry with the circumstances, with the God, with everything around me. So there was a lot of emotional eating, because from one side, I was used to 4 or 5 hours of fitness activity and playing sports per day.
And suddenly you're not doing anything. Yeah.
And then you're emotionally eating because you're in pain, you're frustrated, you're angry, you're sad, and everything in between. So 25 kilos plus 6 months later, I was walking with crutches because I couldn't put much weight on the right leg. Right knee was always swollen. The muscles on the right leg completely wasted, so huge atrophy of the muscles. And then I started having problems on my left leg because for the 6 months I was compensating. So I got bulging discs, I got cervical issues, got damage on my left hip and my left knee because, again, I was 25 kilos heavier and really imbalanced.
Yeah, I could imagine. I mean, of course, when all your weight is at 1 feet, the other side you're not. I mean, of course, the bodies completely go haphazard. Your disc, your spine, your hip joint. I'm sure everything just goes.
And then I started smoking and I started drinking
because of the situation.
I was like, the hell now? I said my entire life I was doing everything right, and look where that got me. I said now I'm going to do everything wrong. Because now, when I'm looking at it from this point of view, that was what a lot of people actually do when they're dealing with a deep trauma, with a deep hurt. You're trying to disassociate, as a coping mechanism, you're trying to disassociate yourself from that person, because then, exactly, because the more you are that person within that pain, the more hurtful it is. So you're trying to kind of become diametrically opposite to who you were. So, and that didn't, of course, make me any better. That made things much worse. And then one morning I woke up and I looked at myself in the mirror and I couldn't recognize whom I was looking. That person I was looking had nothing to do with me. And it was such on one side, desperation, but on the other side, I was like, this is my life if I don't change something. And is this the path I want to walk regardless to what I have been told? And that is the first time I meditated. Back then I didn't know that was meditation. And I sat down and I was like, okay, Vesna, this sucks. Like, what are we going to do now?
Yeah.
Because this is not
And
getting
how old
you.
were you by that time?
This is now just about before 20, because all of this happened in that 1 year period, right? And I meditated, and that is when I heard a little voice in my head that told me that I could get better, that my body could heal, that I could be better, that I could feel better. So I came out of that space. And I was like, okay, great. Now you started hearing voices.
No, actually, when you are in too much pain, when you have too much trauma, the inner voice is something which will guide you. Because, you're surrounded with so many, people are suggesting you so many things. Okay, do this, do that. But one doesn't get motivated till the time you hear the inner voice.
Absolutely.
Right?
And
so maybe that was your inner voice. That was your...
I am coming from a line of healers. My mom's side of the family, all the women in my mom's side of the family had a gift, which was not something was talked about at that time. My mom always had predictive dreams. And
wow.
I have never actually consciously paid it. I always kind of knew what was going to happen. I always kind of had the sense. When I woken up after first surgery, I woken up and I looked at the doctor when he came and I said, something is wrong in my knee. And they dismissed it. They completely dismissed it. They said, no, it was a big surgery and trauma. And I had and throughout, I kept on telling them something is wrong here. Something which ultimately became actually my reality and probably what led to that vast damage, because that could have been prevented.
Much more earlier.
Exactly. So now that I am a healer as well, and I work with energy and I think that was a primary reason that I was meant to come to India ultimately. So that I had that voice which was always so deeply suppressed because of the country, of the environment, of that. How many years ago was this? And people are now much more paying attention to these subtle signs.
Yeah.
So when I came out of that space, it was like, okay, I can dismiss this. But that same voice told me something was wrong with my knee, which became true. So I said, what do I have to lose? I'm miserable as I am. I don't have a career that I wanted to. I can't get any worse. And is this the life I want to live? Is this the path I want to walk? Or I can be guided by this voice and let me see where it takes me. So I've been following the guidance ever since, in a nutshell.
That's amazing how, because 20 and 19, 20 years is very young, and having like your calling, understanding your calling and taking action on that. Actually, you're so right that, a lot of people just completely give up. So you came out of which could have been an addiction. You came out of it very, very prior. But so many youngsters, these days, they just give up completely. That's why we hear so many suicidal cases and so many various things. I think listening to yourself, like you said, understanding your body's signal, understanding, being mindful about your thoughts, and then, reaching out to something and taking action like you did, right? It's really very important for anyone who is going through any kind of crisis.
See, in our human experience, I mean, there is a space for every emotion. We all go through the parts of despair. We all go through the ecstasies. We all have everything with our life. It is what we shine the light on, the space we spend.
Right.
And usually if we are going through something, I mean, my own hurt is the biggest hurt in the world. We all have that.
Our pain is the biggest.
Our pain is the biggest, which it is. In my universe, where I'm the master of my universe, whatever happens to me is the biggest thing. So, but sometimes kind of anchoring that in something beyond yourself, in something wiser than yourself, in something higher than yourself is actually really, really important. And I think the younger it is imparted can really prevent a lot of trouble. So I decided to follow the voice and I was like, okay, what do I need to do now? I said, now I've decided, and what do I need? And then it became, I need to lose weight. I need to condition myself. I need to do. And then the moment I would start, I would get so overwhelmed that I would go right back into where I came from. Because
feel helpless.
Because all of us think of the path as, okay, I'm at the bottom of the hill and now I'm looking at the peak and I was like, oh my God. So I said, forget the peak. I do not know where the peak, what the peak is. Let me just put the head down and one foot in front of another and do not pay attention to anything else. So as an athlete, you do what your coach tells you. When I was like, if a voice is telling me that I can get better and everybody around me is telling me that this is it, my body is done, I said, I have to find a way. How will I find a way? let me try everything. So my path actually and exploration, and the reason why I'm still studying, I'm still learning, and still experience things, is that I went through every single thing that came my way, along with education, trial and error, and then would extract what works. So I started doing the weights the way it was taught back then. Sounds like it doesn't really work for me, but these 3 things are good. Okay, let's pick up these 3 things. Let's move on to another thing.
So you pick the best, whatever was working
What
for
was
you
working
at that
for
point.
me.
Yeah.
And then I realized that there is no perfect thing, and that one shoe does not fit all. We need to custom make these shoes. So, because again, there were injuries, there were problems, there is still muscle memory. I was strong and yet I was super weak. So it was very confusing. And then that I have to push it wasn't really working. So I had to learn through my journey how to find that balance, what is to keep walking forward without setbacks.
Yeah. What is the next step what you can take?
Exactly. And then the education followed. I'm a qualified nurse. Later on, I finished as a physiotherapist. I'm a physiotherapist. Then went on to this is like now 20 years.
A lot of achievements.
But it was because I wanted to understand, I wanted to learn, I wanted to apply.
Yeah.
And because wherever and whomever I met who would see my report would say, you can't do this. Your body can't do that. So I was like, I have to figure out the way, because I know that my body can do it. The voice told me that my body can, and I need to find that path. So I came across Pilates now probably 20 years? Odd 20 years. Because everything I tried up to that point, always something was missing. And then I came across Pilates, and it was such an eye-opening. First, it was done on the floor mainly, lying down. But it talked not about your limbs, but it talked about your core and how that powerhouse connects to the rest of the body. And I was like, this makes sense. I was like, this is that missing link. So I jumped into Pilates, studied it for 2 years. Like really immersed myself into it, and my body started changing. In the meantime, I started losing weight. But I would still be bulky and stocky.
Yeah.
Pilates changed my shape, elongated my muscles, make my core really strong. And as I started practicing Pilates more and more, I was like, there is something also missing here. So I actually started then taking Pilates upright in the work, because this is our functional space, which is what I know now. Back then I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It just didn't make sense. I said, it's great that I can do all these cool things now on the floor, but I still can't do anything when I'm standing up.
Yeah.
All right. So that is how I started. I said, what if I take something from here, apply here, we start with the base, and that is how I started kind of making that into a very unique proposition.
Yeah. In fact, so you were the first one who told me that how you have to control your core even while you are standing, right? I remember you mentioning that, okay, try to suck in your core, be strong, and then breathe. Take very easy, deep, long breath. I mean, that was again very different sort of thing which you told me. But funny thing is that a lot of people understand Pilates as just as a fancy exercise, which looks very good, which feels very good. And you're not able to see the movement, which actually happens when you do it. The movements are killing, guys. It's literally killing. So I also joined firstly, the Pilates because it looked good. But when I joined you, then I realized, okay, there are many things involved in Pilates. How the mind has to be connected with your body all the time, because if you're missing anything, you're just losing something. Maybe, you're just doing something wrong.
Pilates is a perfect example of a mindful act. Actually, Pilates, what I have taken Pilates philosophy and then layer it with the physiotherapy, layer it with findings of the core, layer it with the modern science, layer it with functional applied science. Because I like it as a philosophy that we need to look at the body as a whole with power, the powerhouse, the center of power in the middle, and then everything radiates from that, which kind of makes sense, even in terms of the gut health, even in terms of the muscular control, because this is the connection between the upper and lower. Core is a transformer. Core is no major movement in the human body cannot be done without a core. So it kind of makes perfect sense to start from there. And Pilates, the way I teach it, is a micromanagement of the movement.
Yeah.
And this is the funny thing, it is deceiving.
It's deadly.
It looks very simple till you get to it. Because
yeah.
a lot of people, it's like I spend half an hour just doing a tiniest movement.
Yeah.
And the person is like, yes. And people from the outside, it's like, you do nothing over there. So it's very deceiving. But once you understand that deeper engagement, that you're first developing your own awareness, because your body, everybody I have ever spoken to who came to me for the various slip disc, bulging disc issues, they would say, you know what, I was noticing something, but I dismissed it.
Noticing
so
like
those
what?
are that something was off in my back, or that my neck would here and there, and then one day I can't walk.
Yeah.
Those are those subtle symptoms and signals that our body is sending us all the time. Those are those little tiny voices within. So what I teach people is how to recognize those voices, how to interpret it. And once the body is giving you a flag, you act, you modify, you adjust, and then you're not going to have any major setback.
Okay.
So that is what the Pilates helps you, because when you're so focused on every single part in such a small, minuscule movement, your awareness is peaking. But what also happens, it becomes very meditative.
Yeah. Okay. So Vesna, you spoke about that, how mindful one has to be while doing Pilates, because there are tiny movements of the muscle, and you really have to, watch, and to make it to do more better, you really have to watch the movements. So does Pilates help with the overall cognitive benefits, the mental health, and in general, does it help in that way?
Absolutely, because at any given point of time, when we do Pilates, or again, the way I teach Pilates or any movement, there are 10 checkpoints that your attention should be at. So how do you breathe? So what is your breath like? What is your posture like? Are you properly aligned? What is your engagement? All right. So these are the basic ones. And then what is the mental imagery that you're creating during the movement? Because why people are having cognitive issues, stress situations, or inability, why there is such a wide term, but what helps to improve the cognitive attention or de-stress the body? It's usually that the mind is a brain in action. The purpose of mind is to do something. Now we are living in a really stimulating world.
Yeah.
There are news, there are channels, there are a lot of distractions. Then we are in our heads, we are in the future, we are in the past. So there's so many things, and we start feeling really pulled apart. Then what is the quality of nutrition? What is your lifestyle? What is the quality of your sleep? All of this plays a role in your attention, in your focus, in your stress or respond to a stress. It's normal to have a stress. A life without stress is not a life.
Yeah.
But it can't be at the peak all the time. So that is why people lose their energy, focus, not be able to retain the attention or even information for that long. So what this does, when you're focusing your full attention on what you're doing at that moment, it pushes you into the present time. Because you do not have the capacity to now think, what do I need to do? Or, oh, I like this song. Or what is happening at home?
You'll end up in an accident doing that.
Exactly.
Multi-thing.
So you're kind of fully aware with the body. So first, it's safer. Because you're observing your body, so you can connect. So when people get injured in the gyms, it's like, I got excited and I've done this and something went wrong. That cannot happen when you're fully aware and within your body. So it's safer. On the other side, it puts you in a meditative state. What is meditation?
Focus on one thing. Yeah.
So we put that. So it is kind of really nicely, I mean, the way I have kind of piloted and the reason that there is actually reason and the logic to it. First, safety of your body, increasing your own awareness. So you're getting to communicate more efficiently with your body. Thirdly, it really pushes everything away. And you will feel de-stressed, not because there are less problems in your life, but they're a little bit pushed aside. So you can kind of see them, because we start getting kind of claustrophobic when everything piles up and we do not feel that we have a space to wiggle.
Right.
The moment you kind of create a little bit space, it's like, oh, now I can breathe. So usually the consequence of Pilates practice, even a very challenging practice, is that you actually feel more energized, because it is also setting and helping your mind to ease. And then because we're using the visual cues, if I tell you sit upright, people can interpret it in many different ways. But if I tell you, imagine that there is a really big balloon attached on the top of your head, and it is lifting you and pulling you and lengthening everything.
Yeah.
You're going to actually get much more out of that exercise because you're visualizing. You're using both hemispheres of your mind to get into that space. Plus, it's easier for your body to do it because it happens in the flow. So when you put all of that together, it is no wonder that it helps with the de-stress, it helps with the cognitive function, it helps with the focus.
Yeah, because I mean, I love that, the way you told that how you visualizing something, the way you narrate, and the client, the customer, they visualize and, they make their body in certain way, the way you narrate. Actually, your mind is already focused on one thing. And then when you are visualizing what is being told to you, it just becomes so much synergy to each other. And
absolutely,
I remember you mentioning that how breath work is so important. Right? I would like you to tell more on that, but I would, of course, when cognitive benefits also increase when you control your breath, when you breathe properly, because your brain gets maximum oxygen, which so many times we do not focus so much, and that's why we feel tired. We feel, okay, we have done so much of work. But if you take a little bit of a break to breathe deeply, to focus on your breath, I think instantly you feel energized. Does it work with the same way? Why is breath work so important for Pilates?
We are using everything that we have to help us move better.
Yeah.
So the rule of thumb when it comes to the breath when exercising, there are different types of breath, is that whichever movement, because movement is usually in the sequence, you're having plus and minus, or preparation, then you're having push, right?
Correct.
So you're exhaling through the part that is more challenging.
Right.
Because breath, if you push something out, it actually helps you do something with more power. At the same time, when you exhale with a little force, it helps you to shift the air from the corners of your lungs. When you're in the active exercising position, you should be using lateral breath, not abdominal breath.
Okay, and what's that now? I don't know what that.
Usually when we're in India, right? And everybody here breathes from the abdomen.
Correct.
And that is a part of a culture of yoga, of everything. So an abdominal breath is amazing in relaxing parasympathetic system. That is what kind of calms the body-mind connection, the vagus nerve. So all of that is connected to the diaphragm, breathing or abdominal breath, whichever way you want to hold it. Which means that when you're breathing in, that you're pushing the air, everything expands in all directions. When you exhale, everything comes in. That is excellent breath if you want to meditate. You want to calm down. So you make yourself comfortable, place the hands on the stomach, and then just imagine that, again, use the both hemisphere on the mind, because I really like always having the cues, the visual cues. So imagine that you're inflating the ball within the stomach, and then as you exhale, that ball exhales. So that is abdominal breath, which is great if you're not exercising. If you're and that breath is meant to relax. Now, if you're looking posturally, if you're looking as a structure from the anatomical point of view, this is the most vulnerable part of the body.
Correct.
Because it carries the lumbar area, does not have the skeletal support. The sacral area is grounded and anchored into the hips. Two sides are put together, so there is a pelvis. Thoracic area is a rib cage, so you're having this massive structure which is holding the thoracic area together. So what is vulnerable? Neck.
Yeah,
but the neck only has this tiny little thing, still heavy, but still has to balance it and bobble it on. And yet how many people are having a nap, particularly now that we are all on the phones, on the laptops, in the cars, right? But what is really suffering is the lumbar area, because
does not have a major support.
It carries so much of weight. It has a huge mobility. The lumbar area has a much more mobility than your cervical area has. And then you cannot do any major movement without being involved. I can get up without engaging my neck. I cannot get up without engaging my core muscles. So that is that importance of the core. So the only thing that the lumbar area has to stabilize it are the muscles. Transversus abdominal muscles, internal obliques, external obliques, rectus abdominis. And then you're having the spinal muscles, gluteal muscles, and pelvic floor muscles. So and all of them can be trained. So when we are exercising, we want to keep that snatched. Like you want it like, you want it to kind of create that connection. Because the moment I connect, my lumbar area is
supported a little bit.
Exactly. So again, if I go through the range of motion, I am less likely to injure it because I can stabilize my back. Also great if we then focus more on the pelvic floor, urinary incontinence, a Kegel. I combine it a little bit with a Kegel. I kind of mix a lot of things together because,
I know that.
because it works. It works. Why do you have to do it separately when you can do everything at one time and benefit on all levels? So, but then how do we breathe? So if this is in and this has to stay in, so rule in Pilates, stomach should be either in or more in. You know, there is nothing else. It's in or more in. Where do we want air to go? I want it in my lungs. I want it in my lungs. So that is the active breath. So you want to look at your rib cage like a playing accordion. So you breathe in, it stretches and opens. And you exhale. So this way, I'm still able to breathe properly. I'm getting the benefits from the breath. You should not hold the breath while I'm still stabilizing my lumbar area.
Okay.
And then if I want to go into meditative state, then I'm going to shift into because... So even in yoga, you are supposed to have abdominal breath only once you get to asana. And you stay in asana, whatever that asana is. But active part, getting to asana, you should be engaged with the lateral breath. But it becomes complicated to teach it, particularly a little bit faster forms of yoga.
Exactly, because I don't know a lot of, I didn't know about, I mean, of course, I knew that there are two kinds of breath, but what breath is to be used at what time and, what is the purpose, I didn't know that. Because a lot of time, the trainers, they tell you, okay, breathe, just breathe and breathe out, breathe. But they won't tell you that what kind of breathing you have to do, and what we end up doing, if you ask me, I mean, I've been trained by you, definitely. So I do focus on my, the lung breathing, the chest breathing. But very often when I'm doing yoga or some other kind of, I'm just doing my belly breathing without realizing that, okay, I have to hold my, the lumbar area if I'm doing any asana.
That is all. See, now everything it depends. Everything is okay unless you have an issue. If you have an issue, that is when you need to dig a little deeper. So somebody with a back issue, cannot allow themselves that, or should be trained a little differently. Somebody like you who's super fit, who's in tune with your body, who's well versed with the exercise, even if you shift and switch, you're not going to have a consequences, because the whole purpose is that we want to build and develop a resilient body. The body that can tolerate certain amount of imperfection, because that's life. Life is not perfect. There is nothing perfect. So you set a base with perfection. This is ideally because we are dealing with imbalance, and that was caused the injury. Once we do that, and once there is that awareness, then we expand, so that you're able to do it not super perfectly, because again, life is not perfect. So it's okay if you do it. However, if you do have injuries, if you have a back injury, if you have a neck injury, that is when this micromanagement, or what is done when, with what purpose,
that
makes a huge,
yeah.
it's a game changer. And again, one shoe does not fit all.
Exactly.
So that is how however, I find that this is the foundation. If you learn this, it's applicable to everything, keeps you safer. So there is no downside. So it's a win-win. And then if you carry that with you, you will carry it safely everywhere. If you have injury, then that is must.
Okay. So, I mean, that was quite an information, because now I know that, what breath to be used at what time. I'm sure my listeners are also learning and noting it down. Speaking about, perfection, and of course, life is not perfect. But a lot of time, I mean, particularly I have seen so many young girls, they are facing PCOS, right? A lot of time it's because of stress, because of, their late night, being too much into phone, maybe there are various reasons, and too much of junk food, too much of estrogen, which they are eating through their food, and the toxins around the atmosphere. I'm sure a lot of people with PCOS come to you as well. So what do you recommend them, and is Pilates helpful for them if somebody is having PCOS?
Absolutely. See, again, it depends on case to case.
Yeah.
Pilates as a concept is so wide, and that is why I like it. That's why I say I base everything in Pilates, and then we branch out into different modalities depending on who is the person I'm working with.
Right.
So, and that is why I love it, that I can work with spinal injury patients, and I can work with athletes, and everything and everyone in between, regardless to age or a sex or a gender of a person. So in particular, when it comes to polycystic ovarian syndrome, the root cause can be stress, environmental, genetical predisposition, hormonal issues, right? So that is one side. However, it is scientifically proven that adding mindfulness, adding exercise, and core exercises do help with the symptoms, and do help it kind of in the long run also sort it out. So the reason being, because again, you're working on your mind, you're de-stressing, you're engaging your body, you're strengthening your core. Also, the feeling of the pain can be reduced through a gentler core workout. It can be you're connecting with your internal path, right? And interesting fact, my daughter is now 15 years old. Right before I conceived her, I was told that I had a severe case of polycystic ovaries.
Okay.
And I was told it was bad. It was bad. I was growing hair, just that I'm so light that I would have sideburns, right? And I would know exactly when they would be playing up. And even though the weight I've been always managing because my workouts, but I would know when I would feel a bit more bloated. I need more power to hold everything snatched and in. And I was told that I would never be able to have children unless I have a treatment and I take it seriously.
Yeah, I mean, that's what a lot of PCOS patients, they be told, that you just
Yes.
have to manage it your lifetime.
As the luck wanted it, that year I had education in the US, and the part of that education was Atlas Performance, that is current Exos, which is they're working with the top level athletes all over the world. And I went there through their program mentorship, and for 2 weeks our nutrition was measured. We were using modalities of jacuzzi and the chill bath. That is when I was first time introduced to the chill bath. I've been practicing it since, so now we're talking 16 odd years ago.
Oh, wow. It was there?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
The science behind the chill baths and who is it for and how is it used and how does it affect lymphatic drainage has been around for a long time. It is just having a second life now. So I've been practicing it ever since. We were working 3 hours, 4 hours intensive training, then again recovery training. I was adding my breath work to it, and after those 2 weeks I went for a holiday with to visit my family. So we ended up on the Croatian coast for another 10 days, being in the sea, eating seafood, being in the sun, being like completely
Relaxed, yeah.
I came back from that trip pregnant.
Happens.
It was, and again, I probably also, because it was like there's no way. So there was that tiny little aspect, but not for a different story. So what I want to say is that
When you're more relaxed.
I know. So lots of things that I teach and the way I teach are actually based in the personal experiences, and then I would look into the science of the things. And I had the fortune to have a lot of crappy stuff happening to me along the line, which is great. I learned a lot. So and then I can apply that in a shorter period. So absolutely, there is between de-stressing, between the sleep, between your workout patterns, the nutrition, all of that plays a role. And if you kind of bring that together, our bodies are amazing. Our bodies can recover, can heal, can thrive through anything, from anything. If you give it the right stimuli and then have a kind of gratitude and patience and love within yourself to say, yes, okay, hello, body. Now you're not listening, but I know you can do better. So what can I do for you? How can I support you? So absolutely Pilates as a modality, but I would not only say it, okay, only Pilates. It is physical exercise. So getting your body to move along with meditative mindful practices, nutrition, rest. When all of that comes together, it kind of clicks. Body can actually do much more. And then, of course, there is always space for allopathic modern medicine. Of course, that's why we have it. So it's not that I would say we'll never do that. No, absolutely. But I am going to do everything in my power to give support to my system. And then whatever additional push, it's going to be this much instead of that.
I mean, it's very interesting. Like you shared your experience that how when you were at holiday, you were relaxed, and then you got this news that you're pregnant. Similarly, a lot of girls, who go through PCOS have same kind of experience when they're absolutely relaxed or not. They're not concerned about, getting having a baby, or when they just think, okay, just let me forget about my PCOS. The couples, when they, completely, okay, just let's forget, we'll deal with it later. And then suddenly this news comes, okay, doctor, we are pregnant, we are doing good. So yes, I mean, rest, good sleep and proper nutrition is definitely a key thing to this.
And exercise.
And including exercise, because, with exercise, you boost your metabolism, your thyroid get active, your, hormones, they get active. And of course, you get rid of some of the dirty hormones as well. And when you eat good, you balance your estrogen and progesterone level.
Absolutely.
And of course, be away from the processed food, because that is one which is a lot of, youngsters and also us, we keep on doing. So I think the best way to manage PCOS is to do a good exercise, follow a great nutrition, and relax as much as you can, and not think
Absolutely.
about your PCOS.
And that is to say, my body can heal, my body can recover, and I believe in that. And then kind of move with that, because what I think of, I will speak, I will do, it will become.
Yeah, your cells will believe
So
that.
if I'm predisposing myself, that diagnosis does not mean prognosis.
Yeah.
These are, and usually people, okay, I have this, therefore is that. It's not that.
And you are the live proof of that, how you
That's-
switched your life completely.
Absolutely. So that's why I'm saying diagnosis does not mean prognosis. It means like, okay, this is what I have.
Yeah.
What can I do within what I have to support that healing journey? And then blinkers on, one step at a time.
Yeah, I think that's why it's very important to look at any disease holistically rather than seeing the prognosis, because prognosis is going definitely to scare you, and a lot of modalities of treatment are based on prognosis. So yeah, you have to do whatever you can to improve the quality of your life so that you can get rid of the disease first, and then simultaneously, of course, taking doctor's
Absolutely.
recommendation and doing the best what you can.
Absolutely.
Vesna,
Yes.
I mean, a lot of PCOS patients who are dealing with the regular stress, they have one question that, okay, they have a regular routine, which is 9 to 5 job. They have work, they are into college, schools. And in fact, they have a busy life. And it becomes so much difficult for them to do exercise on a regular basis, right? So what are some exercise tips which they can do and still get a little bit benefit? I'm not talking here about only PCOS. I'm talking about people in general who have a very, very busy schedule. I know it's absolutely important to take out 40 minutes for yourself, because this is what you can do best for yourself. But I really want you to give some tips and tricks which they can do while they are on a run.
This is a tough and not so tough one. It's a matter of priorities. When something is really, really, really important to you, you find time.
That's true. But
You find time.
people come with various excuses. So let's just give them something.
That is a number one, because I know that if I don't move, after a while, everything will start hurting.
Yeah.
And for as long as I'm moving, whichever way that is, for as long, whatever amount of time I have, I know I will feel better, I will feel calmer, I will de-stress. So to me, movement is life, that there is no other option.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Secondly is people try to create a perfect environment. When I have this time, life is not perfect. So if one keeps on waiting, it keeps on not happening.
Agree.
You can work out anywhere.
Yeah.
You can be sitting in the chair in your office. You can be pulling knees to the chest. It's abdominal crunch, seated abdominal crunch. Your body doesn't know whether you're in the gym or a place of exercise. Body recognizes movement. Movement can be anything, anywhere. So if you start looking at the body, actually I wrote a book about it, Work It Out Without a Workout. That kind of gives ideas that at your workplace, we say, okay, I have to have a 40 minutes. No, you don't. If you don't have a 40 minutes, then that's a wishful thinking. What do you have? You have 1 minute, you have 3 minutes. Great. Let's do something for those 3 minutes. That 3 minutes can be stretching, if that is what you need. It can be abdominal work, if that is what you need. If you want to energize yourself, you can just bounce around, do a few wall push-ups and a few squats. You're not going to break sweat. You can do it in just about any environment with any footwear, including heels. Done there, been there, done that, tried it. So it is, and if I manage to do 3 minutes here, 2 minutes there, I'm going to add a little stretch when I wake up. That would be 4 or 5 minutes. Doesn't need to be half an hour if you don't have those half an hour. I'm going to add 5-10 minutes later on. Oops. I ended up with 25 minutes of a workout without actually noticing it.
Yeah.
And your body will still benefit. Of course, there will be time when it's just not going, you will not have a mental space. There will be a time when the circumstances are not going to allow you. That is fine. However, if you just do a few minutes here and there, that is still better than zero. Any minute is better than 0 minutes.
Of course.
So that is on one side. And on the other side is then when you have a time, you can utilize it and then do your proper workout. A third is to make a commitment to yourself that I'm going to do it even if I don't feel like it. I'm going to do it even if I'm not in a mental space to do it. I'm going to do it regardless to what, because I know it is benefiting me. People feel inspired. They want to feel motivated. Motivation drifts off. We are motivated in January and then by March everybody had forgotten everything.
Right.
Motivation kind of goes up. Oh, there is a wedding, there is an event, there is... So the way I'm looking and the way I'm feeling in the body is that if I look my entire life in totality, 80% of the time I've been living this. And then 20% was life.
That's a good way to think.
Because again, I'm here in the long run. I want to do this when I'm 70. I want to do this when I'm 90. I have every intention to be there. So, and there is no reason why body shouldn't be there. So, those short-term goals should never be to mask, oh, I don't have a time. You have 3 minutes. Do something 3 minutes. Tomorrow will be more. Day after will be less. Fine, but you will keep on walking one step at a time.
That's true.
And as you start feeling these benefits, you will get hooked.
Yeah.
And when you get hooked, that is when change happens.
So just let's hypothetically imagine, like, if somebody is sitting at the office, right? They're not, and sometimes the office atmosphere do not allow you to move around so much. A lot of government offices do not have a lot of, if there is lack of space, of movement or things like that, what can one do sitting on the chair? I know one exercise which you suggest is Kegel for females.
Yes.
Right.
Let's say like this. You're sitting on the chair, leg is stretched. You just beautiful.
Oh, this feels good. This feels so good.
Okay.
Yeah.
One side, other side. You can do your neck stretches. Okay. So when you're doing marching, you can lean back. You can do abdominal crunches, bicycle, twisted crunches. I haven't moved. Nobody knows that I'm doing if I'm in a cubicle.
Yeah.
So there's so many. I can reach down, get the stretch, hamstring stretch. I can go in this way, get into piriformis stretch. So there's so many things we can actually do in the spot. And people think that, and again, it's a matter of culture. I have done quite few workshops in the office environments, and that came up, that's a very good question. Like, I do not want to look stupid.
Yeah.
And it is again, it is a shift in your mind. If it's okay to take a break to smoke a cigarette, if it's okay to take a break to have a coffee, why you will be looking stupid if you go to do exercise for a few minutes? It blows my mind.
Vesna, I'll share a small story about my office. So, since we have a lot of sitting work, right? So I came up with this, that every Monday we are going to, just to give them some movement, that every Monday we are going to do exercise for 15 minutes because I wanted everyone to open up and be comfortable and then gradually do it every day. It was so hard for me to bring everyone at same. They were like, okay, we are busy. And they always tried to skip that 4 p.m. We decided that 4 p.m. we need to get together and we are all going to do it together. Everyone used to escape it. They're like, we have to finish this. We have to finish that. It was just still now, we haven't been doing that 4 p.m. Monday exercise. It is just crazy. How you have to push.
But that is exactly that, is that shift has to happen, because I don't care if somebody thinks that I'm stupid. I don't care that somebody thinks I'm off my rockers. Great, you think that's good for you. I know why I'm doing it, no benefits. And again, if I'm not going to do good to myself, why am I bothered?
Yeah.
Of something who knows nothing about me, my story, and how important this is to me. So, and I'm again repeating that if it's okay to take a cigarette break, if it's okay to take a coffee or a tea break, why it is not okay to take a break to do a few minutes of exercising?
Exactly. But now you guys have to answer this question.
But the interesting thing that has happened, that in the offices that I've done and done the workshops, and kind of we had that shift, it became a point of connection and point of giggle that you just see, like one hand, somebody stretching, then you see another hand, somebody else is stretching. So it's a shift, because if one person does it, next day will be 2, within a month there might be 5. And that is how change happens.
Maybe I'll call you someday, to train my team how to do this.
Love to, but
because I've seen you that, you can work out anywhere. Like, if somebody wants to go to her Instagram page or follow her, she can work out anywhere. Like, she's dressed in gown and she'll be doing squat. I have seen your airport videos where their check-in is happening. She's traveling internationally. She's dressed up nicely, and suddenly she's doing some push-ups at the airport while everyone is, roaming around and watching this hot chick. But
but because again, I need to move.
Yeah.
I happen to be there. I still want to move.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. I do not care. I mean, Daniela has been, when she was growing up, even now, she's like, oh gosh, Mama again. And she just walks away. It's like, I said, I don't know her. It goes up.
But I like your persistency. You are just working out anywhere. So that's why, I think one needs to do that without bothering about anyone.
Body recognizes the movement. Yeah. Movement is life. So, and if we don't kind of use these little things here and there, and then when you have time, you will start creating time.
Wonderful. Yes. So, we are about to, we are at the end of the show. But before we end the show, I know, Vesna, that you teach Kegel exercises, you teach Pilates, you teach sound meditation, you teach pole dancing. Yes, guys, she's a fabulous pole dancer. And, pole dancer, when you hear it, it sounds very, seductive, very beautiful, and very, good to watch. But it just kills you, it's just a tiny movement, or the movements, it are very, very difficult. Those are very, very difficult. So, Vesna, just tell me here that if somebody is being very regular with Pilates, will they be able to pull themselves on the pole at certain point? Or it just, because I have tried pole with you, I could not do anything. I just was roaming around it. But you should watch her. She is fabulous with poles. So how can one do that? How can one lift it? You really need to have a very strong core.
Strong core, strong upper body. And again, anything can be conditioned to. Body, you can condition your body, right? And for women, because naturally our upper body is not as strong because we don't pay attention to it. Let's rephrase it. Because for guys, every day is arm day. For girls, every day is a butt or leg day, right? In the gym, in the regular gym, right? For me, it's always core. So and then I throw in a few things. So, but pole as apparatus, it's very athletic. It's very unusual, and it's unlike anything I ever tried in my life. And to me, it was humbling. And that is the thing, because I kind of always call myself like I will always study something. I will always be learning something. So around 10 years or 8 years ago, I was introduced to the pole first time. And by that time, I was already established in my field. My core is strong. I look great. I'm like awesome.
Yeah.
I get to the pole and I can't do anything. I can't do anything. I couldn't get my butt off the ground.
Yeah, that's my situation.
I couldn't get my butt off because my body had never experienced stimuli that way.
No.
Never. I never done pull-ups beyond the point, right? Plus, again, it's different to do it this way. It's completely different to do it that way. So as an apparatus, it was so unusual and it was so counterintuitive because the rules on the ground are completely different the rules on the pole, vertical apparatus. And then I would get motion sickness. I mean, it was like everything that can go wrong on the pole had gone wrong for me. And then I was like, I'm going to learn it.
But I must say that, she's a fabulous pole dancer. I mean, when I see you dancing,
Thank
I
you.
could recall, J-Lo from the movie Hustler.
Thank you.
I mean, she's so good, right? So, but I think like you said, it's all conditioning if you want
It's
to.
all conditioning. It's all conditioning. And to me, as I say, what attracted me to pole on one side was that it humbled me. It really, and I was like, there is something new in terms of movement that I could explore. And I love to move, right? So, and that was, okay, back to a drawing board. Because I have a kyphotic spine. There is that history within my body. You see, whatever injuries you may have there with you, you learn how to manage and negotiate the space in life and do what you want to do. But then when you take something new, you have to kind of go back to a drawing board. And I was like, okay, with my knowledge in physiotherapy, in the human body, in the movement, biomechanics, how can I apply that to this? And how can I overcome things that don't come naturally to me? I never thought that I'm particularly coordinated. I never thought I was particularly flexible. Never thought that I have that upper body strength, right? And then I would get motion sickness. I mean, it doesn't get worse than that. And yet, look how far I have come.
Yeah, that's lovely.
And I love that. And it just stands to prove how miraculous the body is, that it can take you to places I never thought I would be doing this.
Yeah, the body adapts.
Again,
your
my
mental
daughter,
capacity.
I was like, oh, mom, again, you. So that is kind of, and so, but these are the beautiful things about the movement, that you keep exploring different things and it keeps you agile and it keeps you entertained and it keeps you. So my base is always this, what I'm doing, and that provided and actually managed for this to be possible. And then you go into more specific, which is the specificum of the apparatus.
Wow. So yes, I think always being a learner, always being a student takes you always to a next level. I think I'm using always a lot of time. But I mean, being a student is something that will take you to next level, to whatever you want to achieve. So we have listened from Vesna that how she turned her life 360 degree, how she got what she wanted. And still she says that she is a humble student and she is learning every day. So I think, guys, that this is a beautiful session and I hope that you guys have taken enough note from the session today. And if you want to reach Vesna straight away, you can DM her and I'll be attaching all the links with the podcast here. Bye.